We actually got shut down on our anniversary. It was a little,
Nice.
sad.
I got laid off.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess that kind of, it's interesting you say, the day that notification came and that was your anniversary day. Like, were you prepared at all for the lockdown when it came? Like, had you guys seen it coming and had you started making changes to help make that
Yeah.
easier?
Like my wife is an emerge nurse here in Red Deer. So we're taking the whole health stuff very seriously. And she has her ear to the ground with kind of what was coming down the pipe. And so yeah, we did have a bit of a heads up. But that being said, it was our anniversary weekend, so we were also kind of like, part of us were like, oh, let's just hold out a little bit longer and we can have this awesome anniversary party, because we had a bunch of bands and it was a big shindig. And we've been looking forward to it for a long time. So we were trying to eke the last little bit of joy out of the pre-COVID days.
5-day party.
Yeah.
Five days.
A1 was awesome.
Yeah, Gary's band
Yeah.
played. It was awesome.
Oh, that's hard. That's really hard.
Life as much as possible on a certain somebody, if you know what I mean.
So, how long was it before you were able to start doing delivery? Like, were you ready to go pretty quick?
Yeah, so we transitioned into that, like, I think within 2 weeks there. Yeah, it might have been quicker. Because we had just started getting our product into cans. January was our first canning run. So we had Vessel Packaging come out and do a batch of our beer in cans. And January was the first time. So when we started COVID, we had 2 varieties of product in cans, and the rest was all growler fills. And we actually started COVID with a promotion where you could buy a growler for $2. So we were taking a loss on the glassware to try and encourage some beer sales.
For sure.
And we had a bunch of different ideas, and we would blast on social media that we're coming to this city with our truck full of beer, like, get your orders in. And Gary would, have a whole day driving around Calgary or whatever, delivering beer. Christy, one of our partners, she started the birthday gram thing where you could order a $5 birthday gram, and then we'd sing you a song. Like, so I took my clothes off for one lady for her birthday. That was for $10.
Luke, he's more expensive.
Premium.
Yeah, I ended up having to pay her $10.
So when
Price per square inch is insane difference.
when did the delivery allowance happen? Was that before the lockdown, or was that been in place for a while and just nobody took advantage of it?
I believe.
Look at me. Look at the camera.
Jeez.
He's just staring off into your eyes, Gary.
There was a whole bunch of stuff that came down the pipe with, like, new AGLC rules right before COVID, but I actually do not know if that was one of them or if.
Or if it just happened.
Yeah.
Because as a consumer, we saw it literally just happen.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't exist. And then
Well,
all of a
I
sudden,
can
just
tell
pop,
you
pop,
that-
pop. 4 breweries started delivering.
Yeah, I think it was brand new for breweries, but Craft Beer Nation and Red Deer here, great store. They had already set that up, and that was in place and already rolling. So
Okay.
for them, it was just a natural thing to carry on. And we had our beer there, so that was good. That our beer could still be sold through Craft Beer Nation, delivered to your home if you want.
Right.
So that was at the very beginning of this. That was already in place.
Yeah.
Well, I know some of the local guys here in Edmonton, one of the things that they really got out of this is that they're actually more profitable on that delivered beer than they are on anything that goes channel side. Are you seeing the same thing there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just mentioning on Friday doing store deliveries, and every store I talked to, they're like, this is amazing. Like, we're doing so well. I know one store was like 33% increase in sales because of this.
Wow.
So, good for them.
Yeah, I mean,
crazy.
it certainly is. Like, I mean, it seems to me that, you know, it sort of fits into the craft model, right? The ability, particularly during, you know, a situation like this, not only have you got product that's not going to last forever, you know, you got to get it out the door, but the fact that you can now do this delivery direct, it's great for the consumers. Has it been a struggle to sort of make it work, or did it just sort of slide in and fit?
Like it works, but like it works easy or works. It was simple to implement, but there are some kind of growing pains, like
Logistical nightmares. Yeah.
well,
Growing
yeah,
pains.
exactly, and the consumer has to play ball to some extent too, because like a customer would order like a can or like a Grizzly Paw soda for, you know, $3, and then we'll drive across town to drop it off at their doorstep, and it's like, well, that sucked. But then the next customer would order like, I want 4 growlers of this, and it's like, hey man, thanks for supporting us. I think, you know, we're business minds because we're like doing this for a living.
Yeah.
So these kind of things occur to us all the time, but you have to be patient with the consumer, where they're like, they might think that they're supporting you by buying a beer from you.
Yeah.
Delivered.
Have you set up any minimums yet?
So we ended up having to add minimums,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we were, you know, some days you'd like lose your shirt on a delivery on the other end of town or whatever, and so there were a little. And there's also the challenge of the optics of like, oh, if you put a minimum or add a delivery fee on, that looks bad if the other brewery down the street doesn't, you know, so there's all these different kinds of so there was some growing pains for sure.
I think in
So
fair,
what are
I think
your thoughts
yeah.
about well, like the post lockdown, the post shelter in place? How is this going to affect the future of what you've already sort of got in place now? Have you got a plan? Are you going to scale it? How are you going to manipulate?
You talking about May 14th?
Yeah.
Well, maybe.
Unlikely, but yeah.
I sure hope so. Yeah. So we're having a discussion right now about how we're opening up again, and once again, the optics are like a very important part of that. Whereas we want to be safe, and we want our consumers to be safe, and we want to encourage like healthy enjoyment of a product. And not only do we have to implement that, but it has to look like we're being very intentional about implementing that. So like you have to be like really obvious about your efforts to take care of your customers that are concerned, you know, but then the other end of your customers don't give a hoot about it, and they're just back to normal. And so it's a tough balance. But
I think as a consumer, I mean, sort of as a consumer, I'm incredibly appreciative of the breweries, the craft brewers that are doing this, and the tap rooms, and to some degree the liquor stores that are supporting it too. Although I still prefer to buy direct from the brewers. We don't mind minimums. As a general rule, I don't think I have seen a single person complain about a minimum. And if it's $50, like, I have no trouble saying, oh, it's $50 to make it worthwhile, then that's what I'll do. So, I mean, you know, I get the business hat, and, you know, as the marketer in me is sort of going, you know, no, we don't, you know, your customers don't mind if you put a $50 minimum on, like, they just don't, because they're supporting you. They know it. If they didn't care about you specifically, they'd have just gone to the liquor store, right? Or they'd have just gone to wherever else they can get to, right? I know I've done $200+ this month in beer purchases, all of them delivery, and all of them because I knew that that's in many of those guys' cases, aside from kegs, that they're not moving because they're going into restaurants, right, that aren't open. It's their canned goods that are keeping them moving. and that are keeping the staff employed. So,
Totally.
yeah. So I mean, I would say don't think that consumers aren't cool with that. I think they are by and large, and the few that are going to complain, well, you're only making a buck off of them anyway.
Yeah,
That's the way I see it. So,
because like, so our business model, like, we're one of the smallest breweries in Alberta with one of the largest tap rooms. So like, we're an outlier on the brewery
for sure
model,
Yeah.
And that was always our secret, was like, oh yeah, we sell most of our stuff at the front door in pints.
Yeah.
And we are trying to encourage this like community atmosphere where people come out and hang out and meet their friends, and it's been awesome, and people have really responded to it. But it was not a COVID-proof business plan.
No.
Whereas everyone else is a production brewery, so they just keep on making cans and they're good to go. And so
Yeah.
it was pretty serendipitous that we just started into cans right when this happened, because we would have been hurting pretty bad.
There'll be more cans coming.
Yeah.
Well, I would hope there's more cans coming, especially now. I mean, and I think that's when we talk about post delivery, or post lockdown rather, I think post lockdown is kind of a bit of a misnomer. I mean, I don't think we're gonna see post lockdown for 6 months in some cases. And I mean, it's one thing to say,
of the consumer has shifted pretty heavily.
Like, you look at my example, and I'm a perfect example. My wife works for the RCMP. She'll be back in her office Monday, because non-essentials are reopened in Edmonton as of next week, I think. And even in her case, she's essential anyway. So she'll be back on Monday. But I have 2 kids that aren't in school, so I can't go back to work, even if I wanted to, because I can't leave my kids here, because I wouldn't have a house when I got home. Would have burnt to the ground. I'm also somebody who's immunocompromised, so I can't just pop up and go back out into the world, right? So there are going to be a lot of people like me, who are pre-50 but only just, or just post-50, who aren't in a position to be able to go back. And so the ability for me to order delivery is still going to be a viable option. I don't think it's just going to magically disappear when the leadership of government and municipality says it's over. So I think it'd be great if you can continue to do it. Pardon me. I think a lot of people will be hopeful. But for sure, with you running a tap room with many, many, many products, as long as Watershed isn't in there. Because that guy's a big phony.
Yeah, screw Kurt, and no kidding.
100%. Like, he is just a big faker. Tell you what, if you ever want to put a fake brewery on your tap room wall, we'll do a tap takeover in 2027. Yeah, Luke and I will. Luke and I will sign up for one in 2027 like that. And if it gets canceled at the last minute,
and we don't even want money.
Yeah. So I mean, how are you feeling? Are you still optimistic about continuing to get there? I mean, are you starting to get nervous, or have you got capital squared?
Like, so thankful. So like, today was Sunday, pretty slow day in a tap room normally. But every day we get these, like, our regulars come in to get their growler fill, and like, I should be worrying about some of these guys' livers, because the amount of growlers they fill up, just because they're trying to support us, and they want to make sure that we're around when this is done, So these guys have been
awesome.
Yeah, we're so thankful. So we have a mug club. So if I pan the camera over here.
Oh yeah.
So those are all. It was 106 glasses hanging up there.
Hey, and the Queen, very well done.
Yeah, and the Queen, 106 glasses, and so
picture of Mum.
Yeah, Mumsy. Picture all those glasses. Those guys get a free pint a week, or they would have, and they also get 25% off their growler fills every time they come in. And so those guys are in here all the time just because they want to take care of us, and they don't care how much money they're spending. Like, they don't look at the thing when they tap. They just like, they want to support us. And because, and all they talk about is, I can't wait till you're open again and we can come and I can sit by the fire and have a pint with Gary, or like, we're so thankful for those guys. And also our staff too. Like, those guys are coming in just as much as they did when they were being paid to come in, but they just come in to hang out. So we're super lucky, and I doubt that the other breweries in town in Alberta are as lucky as we are. But also, because we're so small, we were able to like just trim down to just me and Kurt making beer and selling beer, and that's it. So like, we were able to trim down to no bills, just to like tighten our bootstraps or tighten our belt buckles for the
either one. So that's how he handled it. I guess just to sort of end with one of those sort of super positive, prophetic statements. As all of this is sort of unrolled, craft brewers from north to south in this province have all had to make some changes and tighten belt buckles or saddles or whatever. Who in the industry would you say you'd like to give a shout out to for how they've handled it, how they've done things? Aside from yourselves who are continuing to rock it, is there anybody else that you want to sort of give a nod to say, hey, these guys are doing great things and deserve to be supported too? Who would that be?
I'll say a shout out to Outcast.
The AFBA. Sorry, what?
You want to say that again, Gary? We'll see.
We already mentioned Watershed Brewing. They should get a shout out.
Sure.
Well, Watershed always gets a shout out. That's part of the problem. Goes to Kurt's head.
Yeah.
It really does. But
he won an award of the AFBA this year.
He did. But in truth, I think Kurt is one of those sort of unsung craft family heroes in the province.
Oh, yeah.
Who has had everybody's back.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't think of a brewery that hasn't at some point in time, had him cheering their name.
Yeah.
So I totally agree. I think Kurt is one of those guys worthy of a shout out too.
One more shout out to all the breweries making hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hand sanitizer thing is really cool. Hard to get though.
Yeah.
And I think that's a AGLC problem.
We
it's also hard for a brewery to source 3 acmeter molecular sieves, so to bump the alcohol percentage up enough to make it hand sanitizer. So, like, it's an impressive feat that they're doing. Yeah,
it is. It really is. So cool. I guess that's the end of our official questions that we wanted to sort of capture some thoughts on. So things are good. Otherwise, so that's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing things are good, and you're weathering the storm, and you're looking for the end of it, just like the rest of us.
Yeah, we put Gary back to work, so that must be a good sign.
Woo! Hey,
nice.
Actually put him back to work?
Well, we're tapering him in.
Okay.
Like a poop. It tapers in.
Yeah. Lord knows we're not paying him yet, but he's back.
No, you don't have to do that.
Yeah,
I think.